They chose you, and that choosing was the most damaging thing they ever did to you. You were the favorite. You were chosen, and nobody ever told you what being chosen by a narcissistic parent actually is. Being the golden child is not what it looks like. From inside, it looks like this: love that is always slightly out of reach. The golden child is not the lucky one. They are the one chosen to be a mirror, to reflect the parent's image back in the most flattering light. And the cost of being chosen as the mirror is an adulthood spent not knowing whose face is actually yours. The golden child is not a role the child chose. It is a function the parent required, and the child adapted to fill it, because children always do. In families with a narcissistic parent, one child is often elevated, made special. But special here means useful, not seen. The scapegoat is obviously harmed. Everyone can see it. The golden child's harm is invisible, which makes it harder to name. This is not a story about privilege. It is a story about a child who was loved for what they could do, not who they were, and an adulthood spent performing for the approval of people who may not even be watching is the direct inheritance of that love. The golden child was not loved more. They were used differently, and the using felt like love because they had no comparison. The golden child grew up to be an adult who performs when they want to be loved, who achieves when they want to be seen, and who, in the quiet of a life they built from performance, still does not know what they actually want. In families with narcissistic parents, roles are assigned, not chosen. One child reflects, one child absorbs. The golden child's role is to be the parent's success story. Their achievements are the parent's achievements. Their excellence is the parent's excellence. Praise in this home was always conditional. Perform well and the sun shines. Perform poorly and a different weather arrives. The golden child learns the lesson completely. Love is a transaction. Performance is the currency. Always. By adulthood, this is no longer a choice. It is a nervous system setting. Perform or feel the cold. The perfectionism is not a personality trait. It is a survival system, still running long after the situation that required it ended. Here is what nobody says about the golden child. They were also a victim, just one the family portrait made look lucky. If you were the golden child, what was the thing nobody ever saw about what it actually cost you? Tell us below. The most specific damage the golden child carries is an identity built from outside in, from what was praised, not from who they were. They often do not know what they enjoy, what they actually like, what they actually want, because for years those things were irrelevant. Imposter syndrome is not a character flaw. For the golden child, it is the accurate perception that the self being praised is partly constructed. The guilt is also real. For the siblings who carried a different burden, for the love that arrived unequally. And none of it, not the guilt, not the perfectionism, not the imposter feeling, was ever explained to them, because they were the lucky one. The adult golden child performs in relationships the way they performed at home, calibrating constantly, managing the room's temperature. They have enormous difficulty disappointing people, not from kindness, from the specific terror of conditional love learned young. They are extraordinary at reading what people need and providing it before being asked. This is not a gift. It is the hypervigilance of the mirror child. The relationships they find easiest are the ones that feel most like home, the conditional ones, the ones they know how to manage, and the hollowness, the specific emptiness that arrives after every achievement, when the approval comes and it still is not enough. Have you ever achieved something significant and felt nothing when it landed? Tell us what that feels like. Someone in the comments needs to read it. At some point, the golden child fails, or refuses to perform, or simply grows up and stops being useful as a mirror. The pedestal does not collapse gently. It removes in an instant what decades had convinced them was guaranteed. This is the moment the golden child begins to grieve something enormous. The love they thought they had. That was always conditional. But this grief is also the beginning, because on the other side of it is the first genuine question. Who am I without the role? That question, who am I without performing, is the most important question the golden child was never allowed to ask. The hidden cost nobody names is the exhaustion of a lifetime of performing for an audience that was never fully satisfied. The cost of never knowing if they are loved or just useful. That specific question lives in every relationship, and the loneliness of being seen for decades as the lucky one, when luck was the last word for what they were carrying. And despite all of it, the performing, the hollowness, the question, they are often extraordinary people, built by the hardest kind of love. The golden child was not loved too much. They were loved too conditionally. There is a difference, and it changes everything. The performance was never who they were. It was what the situation required. And they were a child. Children do what they need to survive. If you were the golden child, the performance you gave was extraordinary, but it was never the price of admission to being loved. Closing reframe script. You were always enough. You just were not given the chance to find out what enough looked like without performing. What the golden child is learning, slowly, truly, is how to want things, how to need things, how to be a person, not a performance. If this named something you have been carrying since childhood, the hollow, the performing, the question, drop one thing in the comments. What is the moment you realized the performance was not you? Someone in the comments needs to read exactly what you write. Subscribe. Every week this channel names the roles your family cast you in and what playing them for decades actually cost.